Murder on the Orient Express has a lot to prove in terms of its claim that it's a good movie. It's based on a very famous murder mystery novel from the 30s, which was already turned into a movie in the 70s, and it features a big blockbuster all-star cast, meaning that this movie comes in with very high expectations of its quality. Full disclosure on this, I have not seen the original 1970 adaptation, nor any of the made-for-TV movie adaptations of this book, nor have I read the book in question that the movie is based off of. So I'm giving this review completely as a standalone movie, with no prior bias whatsoever, at least in my fucking opinion. I think that 2017's Murder on the Orient Express is well worth your time. It has issues, there are problems that it has, but I do think that it is a fun experience. I know that describing things as fun is kind of the most bottom-of-the-barrel adjective that you can throw around as to why something is good. There are much better ways to describe it, but when I say that the Murder on the Orient Express is a fun movie, it's just enjoyable to watch. Quality-wise, it definitely has some flaws, and it suffers a bit in some of its scripting, but just as an experience, just getting yourself into the characters and the plot and the sets and sceneries and time period and everything about it is just fun. It's a good feeling when you watch this movie. So why do I say this? Well, first off, the performances from the cast are great. I'm gonna say this wrong, but Kenneth Baguette, whatever, as Hercule Poirot, the main detective, is fantastic. He is a well-written, interesting character. He's quirky, really hang on his every word. He's very commanding in the movie, very great lead. But everyone else in there, Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz, everyone really sprinkled throughout the movie does a very, from, I would say, serviceable to commendable performance, but Kenneth Branagh, I guess, is definitely the star of the movie, and if you get into his character, which I very much did, the movie gets that much more enjoyable. You set up these actors playing these interesting characters, and the way that the movie's shot kind of feels like an amusement park ride in how they present it to you. It's a murder mystery, it's a whodunit, and the whole point is you want to figure out, oh, who committed the fucking murder? So the way that certain shots are done put you in the detective's shoes. There are a few tracking shots that occur that cycle through the entire cast of characters, really giving you their expressions and their reactions to certain scenarios. During interviews, one-on-one interviews between the detective and the suspects, the camera focuses on the suspects very often so you can see how they react to questions. There's a lot of small details that are thrown into how things are filmed that in most conventional movies you would see either shot, reverse shot, or very bland conversations, or kinda, they want to amp up the tension. But this movie, rather than focusing on the tension of the murder mystery, focuses more on the actual mystery element, the who did it, the figuring it out, the clues, the building, the anticipations. And I really like that. I felt gripped, I felt engaged. The entire movie, I don't think it had momentum, I don't think there's a lot of driving power behind the entire play of it, but I think that it captivates you. In its lowest points and in its highest points in terms of excitement and energy, you're there, you're a part of this ride. It is a goddamn amusement park ride, and whether or not you want to get off, they're not going to stop the ride just for you. Trailing a bit on cinematography, I also want to add that there are some beautiful shots. I'm not sure how much of them are digital, and how much of them are, fuck, I don't know, the Polish Alps, or the Swiss Alps, the Dutch Alps, wherever the mountain shots are. When that train is careening through the mountain, it is some really captivating shots, and props to them. Again, why is this movie fun and not just, you know, a typical board game solved on film? Because it's also funny and has character. It's so refreshing in the current grim, dark trends of Hollywood, where everyone has to be a staunch, like, grizzled badass, to see a movie with lightheartedness. The murder crime is very serious, the way that they handle everything is very serious, the way that you discover clues is very straightforward, and literally revelations of, oh my god, no way, or wait a minute. But at the same time, people tell jokes, there's lighthearted moments, there's little tidbits of funny things, and at the same time, they play this humor in a way that the characters feel realistic when introducing it. No one person is just comic relief. No one character is just, oh, that's the greasy mobster. Oh, that's the evil scoundrel. Oh, that's the quirky salesman. Everyone has bits and tidbits of actual real-world flavor going on, and I think it creates a really great dynamic between everyone involved in the movie and a really interesting script. Now, if I do mention script though, the problem is I have to pan the script, and I really want to hit this hard. This is a big negative for me. The movie is occasionally good at explaining how the deductions are made. For example, if there is a scene where someone is using a fake identity and they say, you're not actually this guy, you're that guy, then occasionally you'll wonder, how the fuck did you know that? And while the movie does try its best to explain along the way while things are happening, they don't always do the best job of it, and occasionally, if you're not really on the movie and snapping yourself to follow it, you'll get a bit lost in the details. The overall plot is never muddled. I perfectly followed what was happening from start to finish, for the most part, everyone's motivations. Names are thrown around very often, references to previous actions, and it's very, very easy to not get the subtle nuances. To put a little cherry on the kind of shitty sundae underneath my ice cream, there are other times where you go, how in the fuck could you possibly know that? There will be twists and revelations, and I really don't want to spoil things because it's a fucking murder mystery. If I tell you everything that's happening, there's no point in watching the movie. But there will be times where they reveal plot points, and there is just absolutely no way that he could have known that. The detective or whoever figured it out. It's like, no, there's a huge suspension of disbelief in how clever the writing is sometimes. And while that is, again, fun, in this, you kinda gotta give a bit of leeway in, hey, this guy's just super goddamn deductive and smart. Suspension of disbelief gets hit a bit hard when that wavers. So the script, I really think, is a mixed bag. When it works, it's delightful, it's clever. When it doesn't work, it's frustrating and confusing. The score is barely poignant enough to stand out. There's a main theme or two that run through the backing track, but other than that, the music is honestly kind of forgettable. I did enjoy the main theme, though. It's a little nice light piano thing. Backtracking a bit, conversations are also very interesting in this movie. Occasionally, I saw reviewers who got annoyed with the different uses of camera angles in the film. There are very rarely straight-on camera angles for conversations, and I absolutely adored it. I thought it was incredibly charming and added density to what could have easily been a very flat movie. You might find it potentially annoying that very often people can't have a straight conversation. The camera's either in the ceiling or over here or over there. But nearly every time, I really, really liked it. I think that it was a great way for the filmmakers to make what you're looking at as equally engaging as the words that you're listening to. Show me something interesting. Give me a reason to watch a movie and not just read the book. And I think that they really did. I think they went for it. There might be one or two times it didn't connect or it was unnecessary, but for the most part, I think it created a really interesting change dynamic among the shots. There are times where it felt a bit rushed, where they wanted to jam all this information into as quick a spot as possible to move on to the next scene. The movie really needs to breathe at times. There are a good number of times that I remember where I thought, okay, slow down. I know that you're explaining things and you want to move on to do the next thing, but we can take a moment or two to really dive into why this is important or what these details mean. I don't know. If I had to score this movie, and I feel a good number of people are disagree with me, and that's perfectly okay, but I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's a movie that you kind of you don't really need to prep for because it's definitely a fun roller coaster. It's definitely something that plays with you and big picture wise is easy enough to follow. But if you really indulge yourself into the plot and you learn every character's name, their backstories, all this, and you play a bit detective, try to figure out who did it or what happened, then you'll get way more out of it than it presents at face value. There are absolute issues. There's some forced dialogue, a bit of awkward lines that feel out of place, places that the plot could have either slowed down or taken its time in how it presented things. Overall, the plot's really good though. I don't want to lay on that idea because it's based on a book, so that's kind of cheating. And the visual style impressed me. It might be unnecessary to some people, but to me, I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish, and I saw it on my birthday, so it was a fucking great gift. Okay, I think that's it. Let me know if you want me to review or talk about some other thing. Goodbye!